How we get down. What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Coach and Company podcast that supports our morning show every single day on the Stadium Network, on YouTube, and on social media. Thank you to all of you who have continued to have our brand grow. Our YouTube page is growing every single day. I encourage you, if you haven't subscribed to both, Coach and Company Weekday Wagers is one page. Then we have BTT, which is Coach and Bro, and the last word is our other page. So thank you all for subscribing, liking, and sharing the show and the content. Do not forget, we also have a brand new Sirius XM radio show daily, 2 to 4 Eastern time on channel 156. It is called Off the Ropes with the Coach. And today, Baron Corbin will be my co-host as we are 2 days away from the biggest weekend of the year in pro wrestling, or the most overloaded weekend of the year in pro wrestling. But here, we never go longer than 20, 30 minutes. This supports the morning show. We get deeper into some of the topics. It's not just sports betting. We do sports as well. So topic number one, and this is absolutely crazy. Ticket prices. I feel like I talk about it all the time on my wrestling shows because TKO and the WWE and the UFC, they have just completely blown ticket prices out of the water. And it's starting to affect because they're not selling out these shows, but they're still having the highest grossing events. But this isn't about TKO and WWE and UFC. This is about the NBA and supply and demand. So tonight, the Mavericks, who will have Cooper Flagg, who's playing in the Summer League to get adapted, the overall number one pick, and the Mavericks are taking on the Lakers and Bronny James, who the other day had 10 points in 11 minutes of action. So it begs the question, will we see LeBron James in attendance? Will we see Luka in attendance? And by the way, apparently Luka has dropped between 20 and 35 pounds since the end of the season. He has been living in the gym, working his ass off, and I think he started to hear what everybody else was saying. If you're going to be a legacy great, then you got to play both ends of the court. You got to be able to, when you get to the playoffs, be fresh and ready to go. Something that Cooper Flagg and Bronny James should be taking notes of, because Cooper Flagg is going to be the next guy in Dallas, just like Luka was. But $2,500 to sit courtside tonight and watch the Summer League game. Here's how that's going to go for anybody that decides that they want to pay that price. They're going to get about a quarter and a half in. They're going to realize that Bronny's going to play 10 minutes. Cooper Flagg probably 15 to 16 minutes. And they're going to look at the person sitting next to them. One guy's going to flex because he paid $5,000 to get his girl in the game. Then the other one's going to flex because they just decided, hey, we're in Vegas. We won a little bit at the craps table. Let's go spend it over here on a Summer League ticket. But nobody will be happy that they actually bought the ticket for $2,500. And if you want to sit in the lower bowl, that's still going to run you $650. $650 for a Summer League game. These tickets are absolutely obnoxious, but I don't have an issue with it like I do with the wrestling and the UFC tickets. When you have a company that year-round, this is not year-round. This is simply a one-off. It's a good storyline-driven ticket price. You've got two young stars, Cooper Flagg for his actual performance on the court when he was at Duke. And by the way, Cooper Flagg should just be a freshman in college this year. He rebranded, he reclassified himself. So last year should have been his senior year in high school. Can you imagine Cooper Flagg playing high school basketball last year when he was dominating the college game? It's amazing. A lot of these kids do this now because of the rule that you have to be out of school for 1 year before you can go into the NBA. They say, you know what? I don't care about my high school days. I don't care about even the 1 year not being at full capacity, because if Cooper Flagg was coming in to college this year, can you imagine how good Duke would be? Can you imagine how good Cooper Flagg would be? But this will allow him to fast forward his NBA career and get to that big time extension faster. And that's what every player wants now. We're seeing it with Chet Holmgren. He signs a rookie max. Pancho Banchero, he signs a rookie max, over $200 million. These salaries in the NBA are absolutely obnoxious as well. You can talk about ticket prices all you want, and it is supply and demand. And I understand why the WNBA players are bitching and moaning about making 75,000 to 125,000 for an entire season. When you look across in the same arena that you're playing in, and you've got guys making $72 million, Devin Booker, welcome to the highest paid player annually club for the next month or two, probably. Because he just signed an extension yesterday, 2 years, $145 million, that will take his contract through 2030. So the totality of his contract now is 5 years, $16 million. So on average, he's still going to make over $60 million a year. But by the time he gets to 29 and 30, he'll be making 72 and a half per year. That is obscene for a team sport athlete. I get it if we're talking golf. I get it if we're talking tennis, because they dictate how much that they play. When you're in a team sport with a schedule, and with in basketball, I think there's 15 players on the team now. It used to be 12. I think 15 suit up. But regardless, it's over 10. And you're paying one player $70 million. It's why I've been so critical of LeBron James and this is how he probably looks at it right now. Well, I only make 52.6. We got guys signing for 70, so I'm a bargain. Do you want to win, though? That's what I would ask a lot of these guys that are taking the absolute max. I don't have an issue if you do it when you're 25 or 26, like SGA is doing, like Poncho is doing, like Chet is doing. Have no issues with that. When you're 40 or 41 and you've already made $1 billion in your career, and you've got all of this money waiting for you, and you have a lifetime deal with Nike, that's a completely different scenario than Chet Holmgren or Poncho or any of these guys. Completely different scenario. You've got to look at it. It's kind of like being an owner in the NFL and NBA. A lot of the owners make their money doing something else. So Arthur Blank made his money at Home Depot. So I've always thought this, and for some reason, the good Lord just showered me with billions of dollars. One of the things I would do is buy a franchise because I think it would be fun. But what I wouldn't do is treat the businesses like they are together. To me, they're separate. Over here, I would actually be okay with losing a little bit of money as long as I'm making my money over here. And so many wealthy team owners don't do that. They say, well, this is how I became wealthy, so I'm going to treat it the same over here. You're seeing it with the UFC. They're not paying fighters what they potentially are worth, or are they? Because it's about supply and demand. That's the topic of today's podcast. And a lot of athletes, fighters, whatever, think they're worth more than they actually are. That's why the NBA, the way they set it up, makes a lot of sense. Everybody shares in all of the money that comes in. And that's always the negotiating point, always the sticking point of every negotiation. So when a player signs for this, you can't say, well, it's out of whack, or it doesn't make sense. It's revenue sharing. It's what every media company is doing. And now it's what we do when we're on Stadium every single day. It's a new day. It's a new media. It's a new way of doing business. So if you're in the WNBA and you're talking about a work stoppage, maybe you should get in a room and really figure out what's going on. Because if you do the same thing the NBA does, it's obviously going to be where you guys are at right now. But they don't want to look at that because they go, no, we deserve more. Well, maybe you do. But teams are not going to go into debt more just to pay you what you think you are worth. We dealt with it in the PFL, Professional Fighters League. We had guys that we came over from Bellator that went on social media. I'm not getting paid what I'm worth. PFL won't give me a fight. I said, enough of that. If you think you're worth $300,000 a fight, go out and get it. Haven't heard from those guys since. The whole world is changing in this craziness of the money just multiplying because, why? Amazon Prime. Our show's on there every single day on the Stadium Network on Amazon Prime Video. Amazon is creating a space where they can become a full media company, not just movies, not just repurposed shows, but also sports now. And if they're going to pay billions to get the NBA package, then that trickles down to the players. Every organization wants a big media rights deal. That's where you make your money these days. Stadium did away with their studio shows. Realize we can get the same numbers, we can get the same thing doing remote shows like Coach and Company or like Coach and Bro or whatever the case might be. So as we're seeing all these other ones change, we all, fans, viewers, people who work in the business, we all have to change with it. Players and athletes included. So if you go to the game tonight and you're watching this right now or you're listening to this right now, I want you to send us a picture. I want you to send us a tweet, something to tell me if $2,500 was worth it. You're listening or watching the Coach and Company podcast. We do it most every day that we have time, as we have multiple shows a day that we pump out, and we love every single one of them and every single moment. We did a segment today on the show that I really liked. This is what I call the dead period. These 3 or 4 weeks, there's just not a lot of betting content, but there is a ton of sports content. And we were talking about elite athletes and those that still are able to perform despite getting up there in age. And last night or yesterday, it was kind of a full circle with several elite names, but are they still an elite athlete? And I've gotten really good, even though I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. Everybody knows that. Love Patrick Mahomes, love Travis Kelce. You'll never get me to feel any other way. But in doing this job and doing shows, I have to be objective. And being objective, last year I was very critical. And I truly believe that I am the reason that Travis Kelce has dropped 30 pounds in the offseason. I was the only one a year ago that said, wait a second. I know we're celebrating a Super Bowl championship, another one. But Travis Kelce went to Vegas last year after the Super Bowl 5 different times for bachelor parties, whatever. Mahomes does his charity event in Vegas now, not in Kansas City. They love Vegas. I get it. I love Vegas too. But then he went to Australia, Europe, Asia to follow his boo. Well, when you get over 35 years of age and you don't hit the gym when you hit the ground, and The Rock taught me this early on. He's like, if you're going to work out and you're traveling internationally, you have to go to the gym right when you land or you will be screwed. And he's right. If you go from the airport to your hotel and take a nap, you're done. Your body cannot adjust. You got to go from the airport straight to the gym, get the workout in and go. Travis Kelce clearly wasn't doing that. So what's crazy to me is he's dropping the 30 pounds, and we've seen less and less of him in the offseason. The only time we've seen Travis Kelce is when he's been going out to dinner with Taylor in New York, or she has a house in Florida, and then they spend time at his house during the football season. So they have multiple houses around the country. It's a great life. Make no mistake about it. And he makes really good money on his own. If he was on his own, he'd be the breadwinner. I think it'd be weird in a good way to be dating a multi-billionaire. Different dynamic. But clearly he told her, all right, I've got a year or two left. I think this year is going to be his last year, to be honest. I don't think you can just flip a switch and all of a sudden you get the quick feet again. All of a sudden you know where to sit and these guys can't cover you again. He had a lot of games last year that he did nothing. And they hid behind he got double teamed excuse. He was just not fast enough, was carrying too much weight. That's just fact. And when you're talking about athletes, it's okay to talk about that, because to be in shape means you got to be at a certain weight. And he wasn't. And clearly he knew that because he's lost 30 pounds. But his GM talked about him. And this blew my mind, because most GMs have their players back, especially a future Hall of Famer. So I ask you this question. Is this having your players back. This is a quote from Brett Veach, who is the GM of the Chiefs. He's been the architect of this multi-Super Bowl winning journey they've been on since Patrick Mahomes became the quarterback. He said, quote, "We've all seen it over the last few years. There are periods throughout the season where you're like, quote, this might be it. Interesting. But when the games are the most important and the lights are the brightest, he finds it somewhere. The great ones know how to find it. They can't access it at that age, week in and week out, but when they need it, they know how to find it." Some people would say this is just honesty. Some people will say he's right. But in the position he is in, you cannot say that unless Travis is cool with it. Because basically, Brett's saying, hey, even we know he's lost a step. Even we know that he's not what he used to. But when we need him the most, there he is. When we need him the most, he's there to catch a touchdown. Just not in the Super Bowl. Now, maybe behind closed doors in the offseason, Brett Veach pulled Travis and Patrick Mahomes in and said, guys, you got to lead by example. And last year, you guys were flying all over the place, partying everywhere. Now, Mahomes, they love themselves a party. Mahomes was just down in Miami doing the whole birthday thing, 1995 hats. I would be the same way, enjoying all of it. But what you can't do, and we talk about this with wrestling all the time, what you can't do is lose sight of what has made you this superstar. Football is why Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Football is why Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce. I don't care if you're making $18 million. That's a shit ton of money to everybody on the planet but your boo. That's a ton of money that you have earned. So you still got to go out and earn it as the highest paid. I think maybe George Kittle's higher now after his new deal, but he's a top one or two. And that's when fans start to turn on you, which would be crazy because he's played for so many years in Kansas City. He's beloved. It's the best city in the NFL to play in because they love you no matter what until they don't. And if Kelce's perception is that he's more interested in his relationship than he is in football, that could become an issue. And I wonder, because I worked with so many former athletes, former coaches when I was at ESPN, and they all, for the most part, really struggle with the first 2 to 4 years when they get done playing and or coaching. And most of the reason, the coaches in particular, come to ESPN is to keep their names and faces and thoughts out there. We just saw Dan Mullen got hired by UNLV after a few years at ESPN. I remember working with David Ross. Came in, he gets hired by the Cubs as the manager. And I think a lot of it is when they watch guys on TV, they go, oh, man, they'd be really good leading my team and my franchise. We've seen every single year. Dan Orlovsky, great TV analyst. Played 12 years in the NFL as a career backup, which is still really great money. You're making $2 to $5 million a year for many, many years. But now, because of his TV career, there are organizations saying, hey, maybe he would be a great coach. And he has said, I would love to coach. So using TV to your advantage is a great thing. So for Travis Kelce, starting the podcast, he has two guys that were very open saying, we want to make Travis and Jason Kelce two of the biggest stars in the world when it comes to athletes. They have done that. $100 million deal for their podcast. And now if you're the podcast company, you got to hope those downloads just keep on coming. We speculated, would that deal include a Taylor Swift episode? Is that how you get your 100 million? Haven't seen it yet. But they've started having guests on the show because I think they realize if it's just us talking every single week, can we make back that $100 million? It's an issue when you pay it up front or you agree to it up front anyway. So how long Travis Kelce plays, I think will be dictated by what does my life look like post football. Because think about it for a second, guys. He's in a different world than we are. He is in a world where he's made enough money that he can kind of do what he wants, but he's also young. He's got to live for the next 50 years, and you got to have purpose. I remember when I used to work in the WWE, I used to fly with a lot of executives who made a ton of money, and they would continue to do it week after week after week. And I remember asking them, saying, "Why do you still come out to all of this? You don't have to." And they say, "You got to have purpose. You got to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. It doesn't matter how much money you make." Because as I've realized, as I've gotten into middle age now, late 40s, very shortly into my 50s, is that you got to have purpose, and the money, you can only count it for so long. Money is just a way to keep score and to take care of your family. Everybody's got to do it, but eventually, when I stopped focusing on, man, I've got to have 8 shows, 8 different things, and I've got to make this amount of money, things really became less anxiety, less stress. I'll just say, hey, I'll take it as it comes. But for Travis Kelce, he's in a situation that I don't think any of us can really understand. You've got a boo who is a billionaire. So if he wanted to, he could just be a kept man for the rest of his life. But whether you're male or female, who would want to do that? I wouldn't. I love doing this. And if I was dating Taylor Swift, I would still do this. Maybe not in the month of July, but I would still do this. So I'm wondering if Kelce is going through it last year and this year said, you know what? I've got to be my own man. I've got to be my own guy, my own thing. And that's why he went out and dropped the 30 pounds. You've got to have purpose when you get out of bed in the morning. And when you have so much money that it doesn't matter if you get out of bed in the morning, that's a completely different animal that Travis Kelce will have to figure out. Is the podcast enough? Which network will hire him? Because you got to understand, when you're like that, showing up and working for ESPN is a blast. Or Fox, it's a blast. They treat you great. They fly you first class. You get to have great meals. It's a different world even when you're at those networks. So Kelce is going to be a kept man, but he needs to be busy, and he should be wanting to be at all these big games. So I hope that he does that. Will he take time off in between? I don't know. But we're at a crossroads, and our football team in Kansas City is either going to pay the price or reap the benefits. July 10th. July 10th, which means we are less than 2 months away. September 4th is the first NFL game. On Coaching Company, we're going to start our NFL coverage around the 1st of August, and then all the way up to the first game of the year. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a ton of content and a ton of things to talk about, and hopefully we'll also cash a bunch of tickets as well. That's going to do it for today. Remember, here almost every single weekday, the easiest thing to do is to, if you listen to the audio version, just turn on your notifications, and every time we start a show, you'll be notified. Or follow me on social media at The Coach Rules. We always stream on there. And also, the easiest way is to follow our Coaching Company YouTube page. Hit that notification, and you get all this content every single day. All right, I've got to go get ready for my radio show on Sirius. Tune in there. Weekday wagers also at 2 p.m. Eastern time right here. And then the Coach and Bro Show. You guys love that show today. A special start time at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. For Producer Man behind the scenes, I am the Coach. We will see you next time right here on the Coach and Company, the podcast.